Heading to Chipotle to buy a bowl for myself and a bowl for Cynthia for her Educator Shout Out Interview tonight. Hey y'all, it's Kayla Ebby with the Educator Chipotle Challenge, doing an Educator Shout Out Interview with one of my friends here, Cynthia. We also work together. Cynthia, what are you reading over there?
Oh, you know. Educator Chipotle Challenge.
Yeah, Educator Shout Out Interview. Holla! Cynthia, why don't you tell the class who you are and what your role is?
Hello, my name is Cynthia Jimenez, and I am an administrative assistant at our junior high school. And I'm also the registrar secretary at our high school.
Wonderful. Cynthia, name and describe one or more educators who have had a positive impact in your life and how they've made a difference for you.
Well, I had several of them, but 3 of them stood out to me the most. My first one was my 7th grade English teacher at Douglas Middle School. Her name is Miss Brink. I had her 7th period. And during this time, I started going back to my dad's house after several years of not having him in my life. And it was really, that transition was very difficult for me. So I was going to my dad's house on the weekends and living with my mom. And I remember just during lunchtime, I used to always go to Miss Brink's house, or Miss Brink's house. Sorry. Well, pretty much her house, because it was her classroom.
Right.
Anyways.
Pretty much.
I'd go to Miss Brink's classroom, and she was just so welcoming and inviting, and I felt really comfortable with her, and I would just talk to her about my week and my weekend, and she always made it a point to ask me how my week was going, and she was just always, she always knew and went out of her way to ask how I was doing. So that really made a big impact on me, that she just genuinely cared about not just my English class in 7th period, but what was just happening in my life. And then moved on to 8th grade, moved on to high school, and then I remember one time my freshman year, I saw her at Costco. And right away I went up to her and I was like, Miss Brink, and she was like, Cynthia, and she remembered who I was, and like the first thing she asked me was like, are you still going to your dad's house? And I was like, no, I'm not. And she's like, I'm so happy for you. And that was just like so awesome that she like genuinely remembered what was going on after, 2 years of not having me as a student. So that was really awesome.
Yeah.
And then my other 2, throughout high school, I was mainly in a homeschool program. It's called the Independent Learning Center, and the program is here in Woodland. And then it consists of 3 teachers and a secretary. And my main teacher, his name is Jeffery Brien, and then the second teacher, his name's Ernst Schnreidereit. And Jeff was my teacher for mainly all of high school. And high school was also very tough because my freshman year, my family's very close and we experienced a death in our family, and I became super depressed. I started seeing a therapist and just had no motivation to do any schoolwork. And for homeschool, I only had 1 appointment every week. But even just having that 1 appointment just felt like really difficult to do. So I would call into the office and say like, I'm feeling like this. And then my teachers, Jeffrey and Ernst, they would really like work around how I was feeling and just genuinely helped me out as well, and said, if you can't come this day, what about this day? And were just super flexible with me, and that really impacted me. And it was about my junior year of high school where mentally I was starting to feel a lot more healthier, and they really motivated me to start taking college classes, especially because I did need some of the credits too, in order to graduate with the class I was supposed to. And they were just always so supportive, and something that really stood out to me is about my teacher Ernst is that I've always been really terrible at math, but they suggested, okay, how about you take your math class at the actual high school with all the other students? I did that, and I was going every day, and I was failing my class. And just the pressure of other kids in school, and it wasn't working out for me. So he told me, he's like, okay, you know what? How about I teach you your math class, like individually? And so we did that, and I ended up making it all the way up to trigonometry, and I don't remember my grade, but I passed my class.
Yes,
yeah,
Cynthia.
I was like, woohoo!
Oh,
I know the
man.
formula of a triangle. So, I mean, I think it's base times height times. Gosh. Anyways, so trigonometry was great. It was really great, and I just remember his style of teaching. It was just like he made me really enjoy math and really helped me realize how useful I could make it, and made it more than just a math class I had to take to graduate high school. He was really engaging with the class, and of course it was just him and I, but just I think the fact that he took the time to say, you know what, I can teach you this class individually, that was very impactful too. So I really love the homeschool program here in Woodland Independent Learning Center, and they're super awesome people, and they genuinely care about all of their students, and yeah, so that was a really great experience for me.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all that story.
Of course.
And thanks to Independent Learning Center and Jeffery and Ernst and Miss Brink for
awesome.
for helping Cynthia get to where she is right now.
Yay.
Cynthia, from your perspective as a student, what resources are necessary to have at school that support students' mental, social, emotional health and well-being?
I think the most important resource is just making sure that teachers prioritize having a relationship with their students. I think is by far the most important thing they can really do, just because I had teachers throughout school that I had no relationship with. Therefore, everything that they were kind of teaching me, it went over my head. Therefore, it affected my test scores, my homework assignments, and especially with me going through things at home. And I got to school and I didn't care about, trying to pass a class because my mind was so fixed on what was happening at home or what I would get to, just the things that I would get to as soon as school ended. But I think, for example, like having Miss Brink as my last period of school was a really refreshing class because, one, she genuinely cared for me, so that really pushed me to do really well, not only in her class, but just like for myself. So I think that's a really important resource that is right at our hands. It's just like developing relationships with your students and like getting to know them and like who they are, and so I think that really does contribute to a student's mental health. And I feel like if your mental health isn't good, then many things can fail. So for me, that was super important. So throughout high school, if I knew that I wasn't feeling okay that day, I felt comfortable enough to call my teacher and say, hey, I'm having a really bad day, and I know I'm not going to pass all these tests. And he was like, okay, call me in a few days, we'll check in and see how you're feeling then. And we did just that on many occasions. And when I got to school and I was feeling much better, I would, for the most part, like ace a lot of my tests because I felt so much like mentally healthier. And I think if I had a teacher who was a lot more stern and didn't care how I felt, I would definitely be failing my classes. So I think as a teenager, having those resources was super important.
Absolutely. Your story is just kind of a case in point of how relationships and mental social emotional health and well-being can really affect one's academic success or struggles. And having those relationships sounds like if you had people that were more stern, it would have changed the whole course of your educational career, it sounds like. So just another opportunity to say thank you to those educators that really took time to get to know you and kind of meet you where you're at. Because clearly, once you had those resources in place and those relationships, you were able to demonstrate that you knew the content, you knew the material, you knew how to do those equations. You just needed them to kind of go at a different pace so that you could
definitely
become well internally so that you could express those things.
Yep.
Awesome. Cynthia, what advice would you share with your teenage self?
I would tell my teenage self to not be afraid to be my complete self, despite what my peers around me were saying or doing. And I would also tell myself to never be afraid to ask for help when I knew I needed it. I think asking for help can be a little scary sometimes, especially when you're in your teens, because you think like, oh, what are they going to say about me? I should already know this, or things like that. So I would tell myself, be yourself no matter what, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
You hear that out there? Do you hear that?
Do you hear it, 16-year-old me?
Can you hear it? Cynthia?
Do you? Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Anyone there? Okay, bye.
Good job. Cynthia Jimenez, who or what inspired you to become an educator?
Well, when I graduated high school, I had no idea what I wanted to study for. I was not sure why, but I decided to take an accounting class, which I absolutely hated. And then I just thought, okay, I was just like looking for jobs and stuff. And I remember applying to a substitute paraeducator position when I was 18 for the Yolo County Office of Education. And it wasn't until a year later that I got a call back and they asked me to interview. And so I interviewed and it went really well. And I never worked as a paraeducator, but I kind of just wanted to get my foot in the door and see maybe it would spark some kind of interest for me to, work in a school or do different things. And then I made it a goal to work at every school or sub at every school that the Office of Education gives services to. And I was able to do that. And I got to know a lot of different teachers and I worked with so many different students. I was mainly working at Green Gate and here in Woodland, and I worked in autism classrooms and multiple disabilities classrooms, and I loved it. I thought it was so much fun, and for the first time I encountered students who just viewed the world very differently, and I just thought that was like super fascinating to me. So then after a year of being there, I got a permanent position as a paraeducator, and I worked at an elementary school. Woohoo! And it was a lot of fun. It was also a very difficult year for me. But despite its challenges, I really enjoyed working with students. And then I kind of wanted to do something more, and then I started working currently in our office. And so I would say what inspired me, I think it was a lot of different people, just seeing how a lot of different teachers have like their own style of teaching and how different therapists have their own style of helping their students. So I wouldn't say it was one specific person that really inspired me to work in education. I think it was just a mixture of just the atmosphere in schools of like supporting students. So
that's awesome that you set a goal to and achieved the goal of being a para in every school that the Yolo County of Education serves. And that brings us into the next question. As you've become an educator, what has been the most enjoyable part?
I would definitely say just working with the students. It's really funny because a lot of people say that when you work in an office at a school that you don't really interact with students. But at our specific school, I definitely interact with our kids all the time. We're such a tight-knit community, and we have about 300 students, and I feel like I've gotten to know a little bit of each kid that we serve, and I can see the student and I know their name, and it's really awesome. And it's funny because during our lunchtime, our students just love to hang out in the office, and they just, always ask us how we're doing and what we're up to and how was our weekends, and it's just really cool. So I really enjoy my job, and I think the best part about it is, the most enjoyable is just being able to talk to our kids. And I only have a few minutes to talk to our kids just because I see them sometimes in between classes or during class, but I really try to make those few minutes count, and to the point where these kids come in after school and tell me whatever's going on in their life. So I think interacting with our kids is the most enjoyable.
And it's a testament to what you said earlier about the resources that are important to have at school for students, building those relationships. Like, if you didn't take the time to make those few minutes count, students wouldn't be coming back as much as they do, to the point where you gotta
get out of here.
Yeah, have some boundaries on all right, dude, you're in math right now. You need to go.
Go to math class.
I called you out here because your attendance was messed up yesterday, third period, but now you need to go.
And because your attendance was messed up, I really want to know how your life is going, so tell me, and then go to math class.
Right. What types of mental health challenges do you see our students facing, and how can we support them?
I feel like there is, anxiety and depression is definitely on the rise, and I see our students really facing that. I know I faced it when I was 13 and 14, but at the school that I was attending, and my mom being a single mother and working full-time to support me and my siblings, it was just very difficult to kind of sit down and realize that you were having these illnesses and doing something about it. And I never was able to say, oh, I'm feeling anxious. I just knew I was feeling uncomfortable or was feeling in some type of weird way. And I don't know, the words anxiety and depression were words that were very common when I was 13 and 14. So I think those are big challenges that our students are definitely facing today, which affect them academically. So I think the best way we can support them is just trying to acknowledge those symptoms and really honoring them. And I think that's super important too, because we all go through things very, very differently. So what I may feel may be completely different than the way you may feel, but it doesn't make one situation any less. So I think acknowledging what the challenges that these students are facing mentally, and really honoring them and making them feel like they are definitely valid for feeling the way that they feel. So I think that's very important.
Absolutely. Cynthia, is there anything else that you want to share with the class? Any last parting words?
I would say,
or advice?
Chipotle bowls are really awesome. So get yourself a Chipotle bowl. Quick story. Today I texted Kayla and I said, she's telling me to tell her my order. And I said cool beans, and in my brain I thought I said put beans on it, but I didn't. So I ate my bowl without beans. It was still great, but anyways, get your Chipotle bowl with beans because that's great too.
Right.
And yeah.
And also noteworthy though is without the beans. How did your tummy feel?
Lighter. It felt lighter.
And how hot is it outside right now?
It's like a jillion degrees.
Practically.
Because a jillion is definitely a number.
Yeah.
Learned that in
got to
trigonometry.
yeah.
Well, my math teacher would be really upset. And other advice, well, yeah, I would say just like always be yourself and, you know, honor your own feelings too. And if you're feeling a certain way, like ask for help and acknowledge that, you know what, today is a bad day, but let me ask for help or just try my best. So I would say, yeah, eat Chipotle, be yourself, ask for help.
The 3 pillars of life.
Yep.
Of living a healthy life.
Yeah. Oh, and 4.
Oh.
Yeah, caught you on that one. Drink a lot of water when it's a jillion degrees.
Right.
Okay. Well. Yeah, so don't forget to do that, children.
Great. So, who did you shout out to today, Cynthia?
Miss Brink, English class, Douglas Middle School. Hey, hey. And 2 more. Ernst Schnreidereit. Sorry, her name's difficult to say. And Jeffery Brien from the Independent Learning Center.
Awesome. Shout out to you 3 educators and so many more educators that supported Cynthia in her path to getting to where she is right now. You're also taking college classes right now.
Yes, I am.
As we
speak.
Chemistry and
I'm taking
English.
2 summer classes, a chemistry class and an English one. And you know what? My English professor, there are 2 online ones. He's really awesome. I've been really enjoying my class. And our classes it's a whole semester of English and Chem in 6 weeks. And I'm really enjoying my English class.
Wonderful.
Professor Kern, what's up?
Hey, Professor Kern. All right, Cynthia. Thank you so much for participating in this Educator Shout Out interview with the Educator Chipotle Challenge and for being an avid supporter of the ECC and for being an amazing educator yourself because as you can see with how many students are coming into the office, you are making a difference on the daily.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Kayla Ebby, over and out.
Cynthia Jimenez, over and out. Roger that.
Roger that. Over. JJ.
Cynthia, over.
Nancy.
Over.
Can you hear me? What's your location?
Anyone there? Anyone?
All right. Have a great day. Eat
Bye.
Chipotle. Bye.
Every day.
Every day.
Don't forget the beans. But they
don't.
make you
Cool
feel
beans.
lighter. Oh
Yep.
yeah, cool beans, nice.
Great. Bye.
Educator Chipotle Challenge.
Yeah. Educator Shout Out interview. Holla.